Big Z Reviews. Hi, my name is Brandon Zarzyczny, but you can call me Big Z. And today I'm talking about the newest book from the author Naomi Novik. And it's lesson 1 in the Scholomance, Deadly Education. And I'm a big fan of Naomi Novik. Actually, eventually I want to do a video about all of her books coming up sometime. But I honestly recently haven't been reading that much for one reason or another. And the pre-order for this book came, and they're like, this looks really good, and maybe I should read it right now. And I started reading it that night, and I pretty much, that's all I did all night was just read the book. That is how good it is. And it's an excellent book that honestly, I have a sweet spot for magic schools. Of course, I'm sure a lot of people do if they grew up with Harry Potter. But I love that. A lot of the books that have done a magic school, just I really love that theme, in fantasy novels. And Naomi Novik did a really good job with this one because especially now with J.K. Rowling, she's a little problematic now with some of her shenanigans on Twitter. And this is kind of like, hey, if you tired of J.K. Rowling, read this instead. Because I just love the idea of this, that, this world is, you can tell, it's slightly inspired by J.K. Rowling and Hogwarts. And it's also inspired by the myth of the Scholomance, where dark witches and wizards went to train for years, but it's also a little bit like Ursula K. Le Guin, I think, in it. But the idea is so original because the main character, she is a half Indian, half Welsh woman, and that's so but it's even weirder because a lot of fantasy books, they have the chosen one destined to save the world, the hero. Well, she's kind of the opposite of that. She is destined to become the destroyer of worlds, the evil sorceress, the most evil sorceress of all time, who will kill millions of people and destroy the world, destroy all the other enclaves in this world, all the other magic users, but the thing is that's really interesting is her mother is one of the most innocent and pure and good people and witches or sorcerers in the world. So I think it's kind of a big idea though, that the whole idea of balance, so that she was so innocent and pure that of course her daughter is going to be pure evil. But the idea is kind of like that. I love this idea because even the whole thought experiment where if you would go back in time, if you had the opportunity, would you kill baby Hitler or would you raise him to be a better person? And then again, the idea that what if Voldemort had Lily Potter as a mother and he kind of just bathed him in a mother's love and raised him well? Would he still have turned evil, or would he have been a hero? Who knows? And I just love how this does it, and it does it. It's like I said, it's funny reading the acknowledgments at the end. She talked about how there's a lot of discussion and thinking about who this book was for, what ages. And she says, I still don't believe this book is for people in their 30s, but who knows? And I'm in my 30s and I'm a guy and I absolutely loved it. So I really do think it is for all ages, everyone. But I think that maybe not too young, because there is a decent amount of violence. Most of it is killing monsters or maleficaria, but there are some other dead students. Let's say the school, the world. I'll talk about the world building later, but the way the school works is really interesting. But the basic idea is that all these young sorcerers and all their mana is very tasty to all the monsters of the world, and all of them try to get in through to the school and eat them. So it's a little dangerous. It's a little deadly, this school. And this character that you follow the whole time is Galadriel or L Higgens, and of course Galadriel from Lord of the Rings. So you tell that this is in our world, but like the idea of Harry Potter and a lot of other urban fantasy, but different. But I love how this world does it, like how she explains it, because like it's a lot. It reminds me a little bit of some of the magic from the Mark Lawrence's books, where it's a lot about is willpower and will and like believing a thing actually works, like a little bit like voodoo too. But the idea is that for mundanes, like it's really tough to do magic around them. Like it costs a lot more mana, and then a lot of mundanes will just say, "Oh, you're doing some sort of magic trick." And the problem is that if you try to do a magic in front of a mundane and fail, maybe the next time you do magic with when no one else is around, maybe you'll fail then too, because almost you're not believing it anymore. But I love the idea that like they describe this one scene in the book, like where when she was a kid, like there's some monster came to kill her in the gym, and the gym teacher just stomped on it, thinking it was a mouse, and because he believed it was a mouse, it died like a mouse. Even though she could never have stomped it out. L. And I love the way that it's very conversational, the writing for it, but it flows really well. But it's interesting because you kind of get thrown into it, and this is her like in the middle of her third year at this school. So like you haven't seen like the first 2.5 years that she's been at this school, but you do get like a little bit some flashbacks. Mostly the flashbacks are though of her growing up with her mother. But and the way she does it, it's almost like she's complaining about stuff. So it's not like the world building, the info dumps, they aren't like that apparent. Like it's all the way it's written. Like it's almost written like you're reading her diary slightly, like not fully. It's not like it's some other books, where it's literally a diary, but it feels like you're inside her head, and she's like complaining about her stuff and like and maligning about her space in this world, but through that we get to see how everything works, and I found it very effective. I honestly love though too Galadriel. She is a really interesting character because she is like she was raised by her mother, and her mother enveloped her in her aura and stopped her from absorbing any souls or any like lives of little animals, and like that's and until she and told her that don't do that, that's not good. And even though like and she is now in the book they call it strict mana, because like I guess how everything you have to get the magic from something. So like if you can, it's called like Malia, where you can kind of take things for even in inanimate objects, like you'll see like holes in it, like it'll just disintegrate. Or if you have like their ants, you could like disintegrate all the ants and get the life energy or the power from them to do something. Or if you're more evil, you can get it from people and you eat their souls. And but that like the idea that it'll change you, like and it's but the idea that she is strict mana because of where her mother, and also because like you can't eat just one, like a donut or a potato chip. Like he thinks that if she ever starts sucking in mana from other things, she won't be able to stop. So the only way that she can get her mana is to do jumping jacks, to do push-ups, to do sit-ups, do yoga, and then store it in the crystals that her mother gave her. But I just love that the writing of it, because you really like her, and I think that another way you may not have liked her as much, because especially at the beginning she doesn't talk too much to people, because I guess like other people can almost sense that she's has the potential for great evil, so they don't like to talk to her. And like and that's kind of works because for a lot that's kind of a trope, that that the main character is something that the reader can put themselves on. So if it's an outcast girl that is beautiful, but really kind of no one notices her. And then the one beautiful guy notices her, and they start dating. And this definitely does have that, and that's through Orion Lake. And he is like the hero of the school. He's like the Harry Potter. He's killing all like hundreds of monsters that come from him and saving a lot of students that would normally be dead. But I think because it's so funny because like she hates that because like that's the opening scene of the book is a soul eater coming to kill Elle and him exploding it in her room and just covering her room with disgusting goo. And she's like, that's the second time you saved me, and I could have done it both times, and I could have actually used the Soul Eater. I could have killed it and then made it into a spirit that would move in the hallways and light everything up. But like it's like the idea, but the Orion kind of doesn't know what to do with that because everyone has always just fawned over him. It's like if Harry Potter hadn't lived, with the Muggles. He'd grown up with everyone fawning over him. That is Orion Lake. And like they have an interesting relationship. Like I think if it went too much into some of the relationship stuff, it could get annoying. But thankfully, it's just it kind of comes and goes, and more kind of funny with her like always kind of messing with him and like and him not knowing how to respond to her. I really it's a really interesting relationship. It's interesting too, but the school houses like thousands of kids, and a decent amount. They're all from around the world, so there's a lot more representation than there was in Hogwarts. And they like Galadriel. She is again half Welsh, half Indian, and like when I pictured her, I kind of pictured like a Padma Lakshmi. Because they say that she comments about herself, trying to think of why people don't like her or won't talk to her. She's like, it's like, I'm not ugly. I'm relatively beautiful, but I'm 6 foot in a 6 foot tall way. Like, and it's funny though too when they describe her, but like she doesn't really care about her appearance. So like, and she's like worn the same outfit essentially since she got there, but patchworked it throughout through 3 years, and she maybe doesn't shower that often. Probably because like doing anything in the school, especially like you have to go on a team and watch each other's backs, or some monster will eat you. So and she instead of just kind of maybe doesn't take care of herself that much. But like and I love though this idea of this school is that unlike Hogwarts, we have like a bunch of teachers and people helping you. There is no teacher in this school. It's literally just an artifice, like someone in 200 years ago made the school to protect their kids because they, until they come of age, like around 18, like they're weaker, but the closer they get to that, they're full of mana and really a tasty treat for monsters. But until they don't know enough spells to protect themselves, and so like back before, like maybe there was like a 40% survival of all magic kids, and then now they built this school, and maybe it's 60%, and it's still 20% is a lot better than and that so that but the school is like it's so interesting like how like I think some people I almost have like sometimes like trouble like envisioning some of it, but they do have some cool like maps and stuff in the books that you can look at to kind of give an idea of what it feels like. But essentially, it's like a giant tower that's not in our world. Like the entrance is in our world, but like it's existing in between. So like a lot of that, it wouldn't work. The physics of it wouldn't work if like they were a bunch of magic kids who weren't believing in it. But the idea like it kind of reinforces whatever your affinity is. So like if you're a healer, it'll give you a bunch of the new spells to learn about healing, or it'll give you projects to make about healing. It'll give you like alchemy will give you potions to make about healing. If you're, however, like Elle, it'll give you spells to destroy the world, to torture someone, and to like do all the things. But she was always kind of maligning about like when she tries to in the first scene when she's trying to clean her all like the mess that Orion made in her room. Like she's trying to get spells from the void, And like she gives him a spell. Here's the spell to scour the floor with flames and destroy everything in sight. And like, that's not what I want. But how about a very specific cleaning thing, a basic cleaning book? Like it's like, and it's like, here's one in the Old English. I was like, okay, I kind of know Old English, and then so they have to learn 9 spells in Old English before I get one that will actually clean the floor. But I love the idea that even there's this huge library in this tower, and it like has pretty much all the spell books ever made. But like if people don't go looking for things too often, because if you read the title of a book or in a different language too many times, like maybe like ancient Greek or Mesopotamian or some language that is really tough to learn, well, the school may think that you're now learning that language and may give your next a couple of assignments in languages are all in this language, and the next like 10 spells they give you will all be in ancient Greek. And if you can't figure out how to translate or how to use them, well, then they're not going to give you any new spells until you master them. So you're probably going to die because of this. So like, and it almost reminds me a little bit of the YouTube algorithm. Because, once the YouTube Google made it, it kind of runs itself. And they don't know exactly how or why it recommends things. And this is like that, the Scholomance. And, in the YouTube, hey, you watch one Flat Earth documentary, like making fun of it, Flat Earth. And then they say, oh, you like Flat Earth stuff? Well, here's another Flat Earth. This one kind of believes it, though. And then you go on all your recommendations about Flat Earth, and you go on a deep dive into it. And then now, that's kind of what the Scholomance is like. And honestly, the book is something about it is just so honest and earnest that about like it kind of made me tear up a time like Elle would think about her mother. Like she'd be tempted at times to use her powers and just kill people just because they're attacking her or they're doing something horrible, and she the easy way would just be to just reach out, grab all their mana and soul and suck it into her, and she could do it. Like no one else could do it like she does, but if she wanted to, she could. If she wanted to, she could be the most evil sorceress in the world, and even like but she doesn't. So it's something so interesting about that. It can also be very funny when the school keeps trying to give her things to do, evil things to do, to learn more evil, and she has to try to figure out like, well, I can kind of use this shocking spell, which is designed to torture people, but instead to use it against the monsters, and but then at the same time, it's just like I say, there's something about like how she thinks about her mom that is so touching, because like she doesn't want to disappoint her mother, and she knows that if she were to give in, like the mother would still love her, but it would really disappoint her that she turned evil, and she won't do it. She will not do it. I just love that idea. And her mother sounds really interesting, but like when she like reminisces about her time as a child, but like she lives in the Radiant Mind commune in Wales, like her mother, and she's just kind of like everyone looks to come to her like she's like a faith healer, and even like the mundane people and all the sorcerers come there, and if they're feeling sick, she'll heal them for free, and if she likes a person, she'll give them these crystals, these mana crystals that she makes herself that are better than anything else you can find. And if she makes a new healing spell, she'll give it to people. And like one person even made a business out of collecting her spells and selling them to people. And Elle is always kind of frustrated by that. But if she wanted to, she could live in any enclave that they wanted. An enclave is each there's a New York enclave, or a Chicago enclave, or a Toronto enclave, Beijing enclave, a London enclave. That's where the sorcerers kind of come together, and they kind of protect each other essentially. But that's kind of they're like the rich people in this school, with all the people that are so it's kind of like sororities or fraternities, but they're they're better off, and they can like even have people wait on them hand and foot. Like there's like when you go to school, you either mainly on like a track to be in languages or in artifice or in alchemy, or there's also the maintenance track. Essentially, that like essentially these kids become the maintenance track for the different enclaves that are in the school, and then if they take care of, they wait them in the hand and foot and do all of the stuff that they're supposed to do to help take care of the school while they're there. If they survive when they get out, they'll be able to do the same thing, but now for the entire enclave in the real world. Like it's everything about like it feels very honest. It feels like yeah, if there was magic, this something like this would probably happen. It wouldn't be just all like it wouldn't be all good things. It'd be like they take advantage of things, and like and it's all it's funny. It's all through the look of Elle, and like she wants to be in an enclave, but then when she gets a chance, like she doesn't like it because it's because like everyone thinks she's dating Orion Lake after if they start hanging out, and she starts just insulting everyone because she doesn't want to be like that, but like just because they think she's dating him, but like, and there's something so interesting about it. And like it's an easy read, but it's very well written. It's even though they're describing sometimes things that are almost tough to imagine, but it's something about it. It makes it very easy to envision in your mind while you're reading, and it really flows well. And it's kind of cool. I think that this is actually it. It was before it even came out. I think it was already optioned for a movie. I mean, who knows if it will ever actually come out or when it will. But I think this could make a really good movie. The only thing I know, because so much of it is in her mind, like there isn't that much dialogue until later on when she starts making friends, like with Liu Yi and Adia. And again, there's a lot of representation in this movie, which is really great. But like she most of the book is kind of in her mind, and I think the only way to do a movie from it would be to have a lot of narrating. And I think narration in some movies can sometimes become corny or over the top, but I think if they do it right, I think it could really work. I think I'd love to see a movie version of this. I think it'd do really well. Honestly, the only thing I didn't like about this book is that there's only one of them out. This is the start of a new series, and I'm gonna have to wait like at least a year probably for the next one. But it ends like this book doesn't have a kind of beginning, middle, end. Although like it feels like you're kind of in the middle of it when you start, but like there's a tiny bit of a cliffhanger like to get you excited for what happens next. And it's like, well, I want to read that now, But I mean, I would highly recommend this book. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I really do think it's for, all ages. Again, if you're maybe not too young, but for young adult to anyone, I think could really enjoy this. I guess it's a little violent at times. Mostly the violence is done on monsters. And it's just a really excellent book. And let me know if you'd like me to do a look at some of Naomi Novik's other books, which are also very good. Like she's mostly known for the Temporary series, which are like almost kind of like fan fiction about the Napoleonic Wars. Where what if there are dragons during the Napoleonic Wars? And they're good books. Like I fell off a little bit in towards the middle where the one book wasn't very good, and I actually never read the last two, so I need to read them. But also my favorite book from her is probably Uprooted, which is kind of like a modern telling of a fairy tale, like inspired by I think it's some Polish fairy tale. Something I can't remember exactly where it's inspired by, but like she is a really excellent author, and I know if you read this book and like it, maybe you check out some of her other books. But thanks for watching. Share the playlist on my head, and subscribe to my Z over there. Thanks. This has been the Big Z Book Review. Thanks for watching.